Okay, so I haven't figured out the lighting or the location, but here we are. Okay, so full disclosure, this week I am busy. I'm crazy busy. And I don't have a lot of time to get work done or to do any of my normal things because quite honestly, we're still kind of displaced and not settled, and I'm not in the place where I can do this well. So in an effort to just make my life easier, I'm sharing things I'm already doing. So today's video is going to be making sourdough for the first time in our new house, and super simple sourdough because I want to share, I just want to share this super simple sourdough with you. Guys, before we go any further, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me right on down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. For those of you who are new here, my name is Shauna. We are a homeschooling family of 4. We are in our 8th year of homeschooling. We have a 3rd grader and a 7th grader, and we have just moved. So everything is not where it should be. Everything is bananas. So we were planning to move for so long, and then we moved less than 2 weeks ago. And so everything is still banana town crazy, but I'm super excited to make sourdough and to share this with you because if you follow absolutely anything I do here on my channel, I do not follow the rules. So sourdough can be really intimidating. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of things you're supposed to do. And I don't do like any of them. So for example, when I decided I wanted to start my sourdough journey, not back in 2020 when everyone else did it, but like recently, because I finally decided that I had the capacity, the know-how, and the want to do it, I did make my own starter. And I did make my own starter with just all-purpose flour. Not wheat flour, not bread flour, just all-purpose flour. Why? Because it's what I had on hand. And so I just did not equal parts like is advised, but I would do 50 grams flour, and I do measure, I will like weigh. I do weigh. I'm a huge fan of weighing when we're baking. So 50 grams flour, all-purpose plain old white, bleached, enriched, whatever it is, plain old flour, and 35 grams not hot, but not cold. So kind of like just warmish, like tepid-ish water, and mix it together. It makes like a nasty pancake battery flour goo. And then from there, I let it sit for 2 days. And then I did start pulling some out and then adding back in, pulling some out, adding back in every day. And eventually it did start to rise, and it has proven quite useful for me. Now, once I had done this and got my starter set up, I made it to the actual make bread phase. Guys, if you are not familiar, you are supposed to like spend 4 days tied to your kitchen, loving the sourdough insanity and stretching and folding and doing all of the things. And that is not me. I'm not gonna do that. It doesn't fit into my life, so therefore I don't. So I use a method called the Unloaf Method, and you literally use flat sourdough starter that is starving, and you mix it all together, and I'm gonna bring you along and show you how this works for me. Now, my sourdough starter, I keep about 25 grams of it on hand. And then I leave it in the fridge, and I've left it there for a couple weeks at a time, and it's fine and it's happy, and I pull it out and I let it come to room temperature, and then I will feed it as much as I need, which is about 165 grams of sourdough starter. So I will feed it about 85 grams of each water and flour, and it rises up, and then I let it kind of sit for a day, and I just pop in and do a little 5 minutes here or there throughout the process of my sourdough, and that is the process that I'm going to show you right now. So let's go. This is me just taking this starter that I keep in the fridge out. It's actually been in there for a couple weeks with the move and insanity, so I let it come to room temperature, and then I go ahead and I feed it equal parts all-purpose flour and just kind of warm-ish water. Now, this is all taking place when it's still pretty cold outside, so you're going to see me making a few adjustments to compensate for that. Like I said, I do weigh things when I'm baking, and I just do feel like it gets way more accurate. And here you go. I like to, once I am actually actively using it, go ahead and use a paper towel instead of the hard lid. And then I was just keeping it in the microwave to make it like a little warmer. And there you can see that it has risen and it is ready to go. So this is the next morning. It's already kind of peaked and it's flat. And this is everything that I use in my sourdough. And you will see the addition of honey and olive oil. And that is because I make a sourdough sandwich bread. So I want it to be softer, something a little bit more palatable to eat as far as like a sandwich, because sourdough sometimes can be kind of hard, especially that kind of crusty outside bits. And so this just keeps it softer, a little more pliable, a little more like sandwich bread. And I think it's awesome. That's me showing you everything that I have left. I will have the full recipe that I use linked down below. And yeah, just weigh my ingredients out, get it going really well. And then for the first time ever, I was like, oh, I'm going to use this really cute wooden spoon. And that was actually a complete nightmare and a total mistake. So I easily swap out of that. And like I said, I use warm water, not like hot, but like warmer than tap. And I just use tap water, nothing special. Because if it's too hot, you can actually kill the bacteria that's making the sourdoughness happen. And so we do not want to do that. So that is what we are doing there. And then I'm just putting in, again, all-purpose flour, mixing it up for a few minutes to make sure it's all really well incorporated. And then yeah, and then putting it in my straight side containers. Now, I do plan to link the kind of like specialty items that I use here. You know, there's a few things that have come in really, really handy in the sourdough journey. I don't, you know, not the Banneton, not any of that stuff, but like the straight side container is really, really helpful because you can see everything that's happening. The jars are really helpful. Again, you can clean scrape the sides. And oh gosh, before I forget, guard your pipes. Okay, so do not put any of this down the drain. You want to make sure that it is completely dissolved. The easiest way to do that is with cold water. And then make sure that no clumps, lumps, anything is going down the drain because it like turns to glue. It's like a solid mess and it will like wreck your pipes. So do not do that. There I am just marking the jar and you can just wipe it off. And then this is left over. That's it. That's all that's left over. I've scraped it totally clean and come back and this little jar will just go in the fridge until next time. If I'm on a good schedule, it's usually about a week. And here it is. You can see there's actually condensation forming inside this straight side jar. Okay, so time check is 2:30 and I haven't touched it. And that is what it is doing. So you can see the condensation, the humidity, it feels a little warm and you can see those big air pockets forming. See, it's big and airy down here, but not as much up here. So it's still got a ways to go. My intent is going to be to, let me turn toward the light. My intent is going to be to bake it tonight. I was originally thinking that I would let it sit in the bin overnight and bake it, but I don't have time. I don't have time. So we're just going to bake it tonight. It's going to be good enough. And I also bake my sourdough in loaf pans, glass loaf pans, and not in a Dutch oven because I use it for sandwich bread and it's the right size. And I had the heck of a time cutting it until I bought a special knife, which if I remember, I'll link down below. Yeah. Anyways, so that's where we're at. Me and my sourdough. And I don't have a name for it. I feel like I need a name for it. So give me your best sourdough name ideas. I will accept them. So here I am later in the day. It's been 9 hours. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pull it out, shape it just a little bit. Look at all those nice like air pockets, how much it's risen. It is like crazy huge. So I am just going to go ahead and get it out, give it a little bit of a shaping. And then I put it in the loaf pans, which this time I actually used the, again, scraping it as clean as possible because we don't want anything going down the drain. I used that like spray on flour baking spray and it was a nightmare to get off, I think, because the temperature is just, you're baking it so high. So we just give it a little moving in around and then a little bit flattening out and then kind of fold it into like an oblong shape, if that makes any sense. And then I like to put it in my pans and then I give it about 20 minutes to kind of like rise, I guess. And you will see I actually did this in the oven because, again, it's just so cold. The counter is so cold. Everything's so cold. So I just put these in the oven for about 20 minutes to go ahead and like just kind of shape up before I took them out to score them. And that worked really, really well. So there they are. I'm giving you a little time check, which if you want timestamps and like to know how long everything actually took, it is all down below in the video chapters because I took a lot of effort. Now here's how I bake it. So cold oven, sheet pan underneath the pans, and I put water in there to make sure it is steamy. And that is how I bake it. Okay, so I set the timer. This is just letting it kind of like shape up before scoring it. But I do the sheet pan with the water so that as it's cooking, it's really nice and steamy and it keeps it really moist. So here I am just scoring a little bit, nothing fancy, just giving it that little bit of point where it's going to kind of break apart. And that's it. So there we are. And you can see it goes into a cold oven and then I heat it up to 450. Wow, this video is not stable at all. Sorry, friends. So heating it up to 450, and this is the first time I'm baking in a gas like convection oven. So that's new and entertaining and not something that I had done before. But there you go. I'm about halfway through. And as you see, I do put some aluminum foil on top. And that is just because I want to keep it from getting too brown because it will get quite brown and therefore quite crunchy. And so I like to get it about halfway through where it has like some nice color on it and then give it just a little tint of foil. Now, once I am fully done, I like to do the temp check, and temp check minimum 208 degrees. And it wasn't there at an hour, so I went ahead and just put it back in for another 10. And then once I'm done, I like to just turn it all off and open up the oven until it cools down a bit. And then I do leave it for like an hour or 2 hours just before I cut it because people say it can get gummy. And so the longer I can wait, the longer I will wait before cutting it. But I wanted to, as you can see, I've already showered. I'm like ready to go to bed. That's it, guys. This is what works for me. Again, just like everything else, I don't want you to be discouraged from doing something that you want to do because you think that you have to jump through a hoop of fire, bedazzled, a very specific kind of way, hitting all the right poses. Life isn't like that. Life is crazy. Life is busy. Life is messy. And if you want to do something, find the way that works for you. Like I said, this is the same principle that I take through into so many things, including the homeschool curriculums that we use and the way that we use them. I do not go as prescribed. I do what works for me. And guess what? I tend to be really happy with the results because I've done what works for me. So I hope that if nothing else, this is just a kind little reminder to do what works for you. I appreciate you guys just following along with the kind of the random assortment of videos I've been posting because this is just what life needs right now. Again, I can't follow the norm. I just have to do what's working for me. And right now, this is it. So if you have any sourdough questions at all, you probably need to go ask somebody else. But if you are happy with getting good enough results, I'm your girl. So guys, as always, I hope you found any of this helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you did, please scroll down, hit that big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Bye.